बिन मांगे सब कुछ है पाया, क्या मांगू फरियाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं दाता तेरी याद में। बिन मांगे सब कुछ है पाया, क्या मांगू फरियाद में। तू ही समझता दिल को हमारे, करता मेरी हिफाजत है। तुझ पर ही तो हक है सारे, तू ही मेरी ताकत है। तू ही समझता दिल को हमारे, करता मेरी हिफाजत है। तुझ पर ही तो हक है सारे, तू ही मेरी ताकत है। तू ही सबसे पहले दिल में, बाकी सब है बाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं भगवन तेरी याद में। तू ही सबसे पहले दिल में, बाकी सब है बाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं भगवन तेरी याद में। दिल जो गाता तू वो गजल है, तू ही भरता मुझ में बल है। तुझसे मुकम्मल मेरी सांसें, तू ही जीवन सबका तराशे। दिल जो गाता तू वो गजल है, तू ही भरता मुझ में बल है। तुझसे मुकम्मल मेरी सांसें, तू ही जीवन सबका तराशे। तुमने दी है हर एक खूबी मुझको आशीर्वाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं साहिब तेरी याद में। तुमने दी है हर एक खूबी मुझको आशीर्वाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं साहिब तेरी याद में। तुमने थामा हाथ है मेरा इस बदलते दौर में। तू ही मेरे मन का सुकून है दुनिया के इस शोर में। तुमने थामा हाथ है मेरा इस बदलते दौर में। तू ही मेरे मन का सुकून है दुनिया के इस शोर में। पाए हैं तुमसे सभी खजाने मैंने जायदाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं ईश्वर तेरी याद में। पाए हैं तुमसे सभी खजाने मैंने जायदाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं ईश्वर तेरी याद में। मौला तेरी याद में, या रब तेरी
Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti. Welcome and thank you so much. She's muted. Yeah, we need to unmute you, I think. Yeah, okay. So a big welcome, Sister Jayanti. Thank you for giving us this time.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Arunaben.
And we have people from around the world, literally. If they're awake, they're here.
Good.
So for those, just to give a little short intro to Sister Jayanti. So Sister Jayanti came to Baba, she visited first time Baba in 1957. And she was only 8 years old then. She was living in London. And she explains that it was like meeting a grandfather. And then I think, gentlemen, when you went back in 66, then it was like meeting a father. And Sister Jayanti has been our mentor, our guide. I think many of us can vouch for that. She's the European and Middle East director of the Brahma Kumaris and the UN representative in Geneva. But apart from that, really, she's been there for all of us. I think many of us on this group can vouch that she's always been there with her guidance and especially answering all the emails. She spends hours answering all the emails, although we tell her to minimize it. But, she says, this is what Dadi has taught her, Baba has taught her. And so she's just following their footsteps. So Sister Jayanti, any opening remarks?
Om Shanti, and lovely to be with you all. And I'm just very, very aware that the subject that we all need to focus on tremendously is the subject of yoga, so that we're able to sort out what we need to do inside, but also more and more, I see how it's the power of yoga that dissolves all the sticky issues that come in our way, whether in terms of our relationships or in terms of Baba's service. And so that focus on yoga, which doesn't mean that I say I'm not going to engage in service, I am, but just to have that greater attention and awareness of keeping that presence of Baba with myself, so that then it's not just me working on my own, either for myself or for service, but it's with Baba. And so that power, that love, that support, that canopy of safety is always with me and whatever it is that I do. So I think that whether it's the Sakar Murlis or the Avyakt Murlis or just one's own experience, that we need yoga, yoga and yoga, more yoga.
So Sister Jayanti, how would you define good yoga? What is good yoga?
It means that I should be able to feel Baba's presence at any moment that I connect. And of course, I know that it should be that it's all the time. And yet, of course, I also know that for myself, it doesn't happen all the time. But I know that when I want to connect with Baba, then there shouldn't be any blockages or any obstacles that hold me back and make me feel, well, I'm not quite getting it. And so to be able to connect with one thought and feel Baba's love and presence, for me, is good yoga.
So with one thought, be able to connect with Baba and feel his presence. This is good yoga. So this implies that it's not just sitting down, it's in every moment, right?
Yeah, because sitting down, it's of course very important to have that powerful yoga so that my sanskars are softening and melting and dissolving, and I'll be settled with them. But it's through the day as we interact that old habits come through. And it's so important to have the sense of Baba's presence so that then I'm protected from my own sanskars. You know, when you think about God's protection, it's usually whatever is going on outside. But I think for those who are actually Brahmins on the journey, Baba's helping us protect ourselves from all our old habits and old sanskars, so that there's a transformation that's at work that becomes more and more visible in our activity and dealings with others.
So now that you came to transformation of sanskars, there's quite a few questions on that actually. Um, so somebody was saying that Baba says that there has to be the power of the collective or the power of concentration. So power of concentration of many. And how does that work when souls still don't get on with each other?
If you think about what happens when we have World Meditation Hour, that's a classic example. And so at that moment, when we sit together to give the power of peace to the world, that collective, at that moment, it's not your sanskars that are interfering. Yes, I might have karmic accounts and sanskars and all sorts of things going on with other people at other times. But at that moment, when there's collective yoga and we're focused on one particular purpose, that through the power of the peace that we're experiencing, we should share that peace with the world, it becomes very, very powerful. And whether it's a gathering of 10 or 15, or whether it's a gathering of a few hundred, it doesn't make a difference in the sense that you've risen above all the little petty things that go on. And the power of the gathering and that collective focus is working. And Baba is multiplying that energy, and that energy is being shared. So I think that on the one side, yes, we each one of us dealing with our sanskars personally, but also we are settling whatever is going on between all of us. But when we come together with a common vision and a common goal, then magic does happen. And we've seen that happen in service. And we see that happen, of course, when we have that vision. I'm thinking about Raksha Bandhan, and how Raksha Bandhan this year was a very different story to every other year that we've had Raksha Bandhan celebrations since the 70s. But this time it was very different. And it was a lot of work to make sure we were following all the systems and guidelines of the government, and safety, of course, and health for everyone. But having put in that focus of attention and energy, and everybody was focused that Raksha Bandhan should be a very powerful yoga experience for everyone. And this is exactly what happened. The atmosphere was powerful. The interaction with everyone through that period was of very, very high caliber. And whoever came, but also whoever watched on webcast, could just feel those vibrations. And I still hear comments about how much benefit people took from that period, especially. So I know that when we focus, magic can happen with Baba's help.
Yes, you're right, gentlemen. It's so true. We, as you know, on Fridays, we have the Sunday Avyak Murli. And so your Sunday's Murli is signs of a true server. So we have a few questions from that. I'll maybe give you a little context so you're aware. Basically, one of the things that Baba's saying is that if you have any takkar, any conflict in service, and you're not happy, then you should leave service. Now, we know that, I was explaining that you have to give it your best shot first before you just, say, kalas, finished. I mean, what would you say for that? Because it is so easy to say, I'm not getting on and I'm going from here. But you explain that a bit more.
Yeah, it's the last step. It really is. There's several steps before that that one should try for. And one is that maybe a little bit of communication with honesty with the other, whoever it is that I'm coming into conflict with. If that's possible, then I understand where they're coming from. They understand where I'm coming from. And I haven't changed. I can't expect them to change. And so, but a little bit of mutual understanding. And we realize that each one's specialities are needed for this task. I can't do it on my own, they can't do it on their own. And so we need to find some common ground. And maybe on a personal level, I don't agree with you. But when it comes to service, I recognize your value and I want to work with you. And if that's the awareness that we come together with, we'll set our differences aside and move on with Baba's task. There may be another situation in which I say, well, yes, this soul has specialities and is needed, and I have certain qualities that are needed for Baba's task, but we don't necessarily have to work together. We can work with our own set of people here, one team here and another team here. And yes, Baba's work will come together, and I don't need to be facing this conflict all the time. But we get on with our work and we can still work together. So there are various possibilities that can make life manageable. And it's not ideal, but at least it means that I stay engaged in Baba's task and I continue to create that fortune. And for myself, I've always been aware, not just of the specialities of the others, but also to know that I am learning so much by being on the field of service. If I were to say, well, I can sort myself out with the power of yoga and go into isolation. Well, yes, power of yoga is absolutely vital, but I would never get to the point of actually seeing myself in the same way as when I'm on the service field. It's when I'm coming into engagement with others that then I can see where it is I still have ego, where it is I still have any other agenda. I want something for myself, or where it is I say, well, I get on with this person, but not this person. So I'll work with this person, but not with this person. So the field of service is the amazing mirror that shows me where I need to adjust my sanskar still. I don't think getting away from the service field will help me see that. But the other thing is, of course, that service means I'm constantly receiving blessings that enable the soul to shift. Without blessings, me on my own, how much could I transform myself? And the amount that you learn, not just about yourself, but also the skills you pick up, the new things you learn about how to do service. It's a constant adventure. And so I would never ever recommend anyone to step away from the service field. But of course, ultimately, it is my own happiness that Baba wants. And if I say no to service and I think that that's the way to do it, Baba will say, okay, try it. Give yourself a week, a few weeks, a month, and see how you feel after that. Maybe there is a moment when it's really not possible for me to carry on and I need to have that break for that recharging of the inner battery. So fine, let me try that too.
Yes, Sister Jayanti, I think you're an example of that, because having worked with you and lived with you and seen you through many different situations, I think there were many times when you could have packed your bags and says, right, I'm out. But you really are an example of that, that no matter what. And I was sharing that with our sisters here, that, it's so easy to say, right, I'm going from, Kuwait, but to actually, to sit and to see it through and to see what is it that's really bothering me, triggering me. That's the real work, isn't it? So, yeah.
There was a very interesting scenario many years ago, I think now. Avyak Baba told a group of teachers in India, okay, what I'm going to do is to shift you all around because some of you complain that you don't get on with this, you don't have a chance for this, all sorts of things come up. I'm going to ask Didi and Dadi. Didi was around, so this would have been early 80s maybe. I'm going to ask them to shift you around so that you have a flavor of service in a new situation. And so that's exactly what happened. People got shifted around. And at the end of 3 months, I think most of those teachers realized that I carry my sanskars with myself wherever it is I go. And so it's not a question of changing place or changing people or changing a task, but it's changing myself that is the most important thing. And in fact, there were also quite a few complications that came about in service because here I am arriving in a new place. I don't know the history of the place. I don't know the history of souls. And so um, what I'm suggesting now isn't quite appropriate. It needed that background of history and reference to be able then to make a proper decision. So that it was a good exercise for everybody to realize that change has to happen here, not externally.
Mm. If I may share a story, gentlemen, it's the
Mm.
story of the man who came with his cross. He had a big cross, which means he had some very difficult, circumstances. So he came in front of God and said, "This cross is very difficult for me to bear." So God says, "Okay, you can put this cross down, and you pick up any other cross that you want." And he said, "Fine." So he put that cross down and he went around the room trying to see what other life or what other, situation would be better than what he has. Finally, he turned around. He said, "I'll have that cross over there."
Right.
God said, "But that's the one you came in with." So it's true. When we compare, we realize, we wouldn't want anything different. Again, coming back to this Avyakt Murli Jantiben, again, Baba said something very nice. Baba says, if there is service without renunciation and tapasya, it is service only in name and its fruit is only temporary. So one of the things I want to ask you is the renunciation of the past is very different from the renunciation of current day, because renunciation of past meant you leave your home, your family, and everything else, all the desires, everything, attachments. So now how do we apply this? Like, we're supposed to have renunciation. So how do you see current day renunciation?
I see how COVID has been a very interesting experiment for all of us. We didn't ask for it, but it happened to show us many things. What is it that I used to enjoy? I used to enjoy outings. I used to enjoy travel. I used to enjoy this, and this. Well, now drama has stripped me of all of that. Now I have to be stable in one place. Do I still enjoy my Brahmin life? Never mind service, but firstly, do I still enjoy my Brahmin life? And can I say that even under these challenging circumstances in which, like, for example, many of us would have been in Madhuban in October, it had become an annual pilgrimage for us to go in October. And maybe we are still thinking that, well, perhaps we'll still be able to go in February and March, but maybe drama will not permit that. So that renunciation, that support that Madhuban gave me, that support that travel or outings gave me, can I still say, yes, I'm fine? And then in service, I used to think that I have to take people away on a retreat. I have to give them a good experience in which they can have an adventure, see new places, all of this. Is that okay? Can I still give people that experience of being on a retreat just through Zoom and not have all the other adventures and the fancy cooking and all the goodies that we used to organize? Service has become very different. It's just straight Gyan and yoga now, really. And so, if this is the service I'm doing, am I content and happy with this? Are others content and happy with this? Am I able to give them that feeling and experience of contentment? So I see that renunciation under COVID times has been forced on us. And if there were things that I was dependent on, well, I've had to learn to be away from all those supports. Daddy Janki, we used to depend so much on Daddy in so many different ways. I don't need to enumerate that. Um, and Rama said, yes, of course you can be with Daddy, but only if you yourself become Avyakt. Yes, of course you can be with Avyakt Baba. First, we had Sakar Baba, then we had Avyakt Baba, we had personal meetings, we had group meetings, country meetings, and then meetings and 25,000 people, but we still took so much benefit, even within the gathering of 25,000, and gradually everything changed. And today, Baba says, well, if you want to meet me, you can, but you come up to the subtle region. And so it's been a breaking away of all our supports on the external level. So all of this is part of that package of renunciation, in which what I'm left with is my tapasya, my direct connection with God, and to be able to take whatever God wants to give me directly through yoga. And it was very beautiful the other day, Baba said, you know what is important? Murli, Murli, and Murli. I thought that was very lovely. And so Baba's giving us a very powerful reminder that we have all the gyan we need. We can do as much yoga as we choose to do, no restrictions. And so the renunciation today is of all of those things. And today, at least, we have the comfort of being with the Brahmin family through Zoom. Maybe a time is going to come when all these supports are also going to be removed from us. I'm sure there'll come a time when the towers, the networks, everything comes crashing down. It has to at some point. I don't know when, but it will. But I'm also thinking that we have the comfort of heating, central heating, um, maybe central cooling. We have those comforts. A time is going to come when we won't have those. Food, water, the food that I want. Today I have it. Tomorrow, who knows? So internally, I should be preparing myself so that if I have something great, if I don't have it, not that I'm dependent on it. So, yes, the renunciation today is different to what it was in the early days. But today also, we have more comfort than many others. But we have to also be prepared for the time when we don't have those comforts. Will it impact my yoga? Will my quality of yoga be affected if I don't have this, and this? So it's a preparation. COVID is a preparation for future times in which there'll be more challenges.
Yes, gentlemen, quality, and also I think with what intensity, right, we can connect, or expediency we can connect. So this is actually related to this last question from today's Murli, that Baba's saying that let there not be any waste thoughts even in upheaval, because waste thoughts will not allow you to become powerful. And what I'm seeing is there is so much happening in the world, and Baba's saying today, don't ask questions, but there is so much happening and Brahmins are asking questions. And at the same time, we're expected to be powerful. It's almost like the test is being brought on so that we can be powerful. So actually, this is a question from somebody that during the times of upheaval, how to remain powerful, like any antidote or quick medicine. Yeah.
um,
Is it just practice of not creating waste? I think that's the question. Is it just?
it's a practice of putting the full stop. Baba's often talked about the full stop. And do I practice this in real life? So a little situation happens. How quickly can I put a full stop and move on? Is it taking me a long time, a whole day and night? Maybe it's taking me less time, but can I reduce that time so that then something happens? Om Shanti, full stop. And I'm able to stay with Baba and move on. So it's so important to keep practicing the things that Baba's been talking about. You know, we've all enjoyed the Avyakt Murlis especially, and of course the Sakar Murlis. But this time is now to see what have I practiced and what I have not. And where I haven't practiced, it's still time to prepare. I can see that they're telling us here in England, at least, that more and more infections are going to come because the winter has started and it's going to become severe. It's going to be very severe, more COVID infections, more deaths, all of this. I hear all of this, I understand it all. And am I creating upheaval in my mind and thinking, what's going to happen? Or am I saying, I understand, but I don't need to think about it. I need to follow the guidelines and make sure I'm keeping my immunity strong and all of those things and keeping myself safe and keeping others safe around me. But how much time am I giving to thinking, oh, what's going to happen? How will it happen? Da, 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 da. So I don't need to do that. You've seen the news for 3 minutes, enough. Now, full stop. Because my immunity is connected with my consciousness. If I'm afraid, my immunity level goes down. If I have faith, if I have hope, if I have a guarantee for the future that Baba's canopy is with me, I'm going to be fine. And so, this situation, I'm talking about just health, but for many people, it's finance, it's jobs, it's their livelihood, it's their future, their children, all of this. Can I trust that if I am honest and I do what I need to do without any carelessness or laziness, there will always be enough for me? I've been offering food to Baba in gratitude that Baba has given me all of this, but also as that awareness that I know that that act of cooking for Baba, offering to Baba before I share with my family, so that appreciation and gratitude that Baba has given me this is creating that karmic connection with Baba so that Baba will provide for me. I'm not doing it for that selfish reason. It is a very selfish reason, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it out of real gratitude and appreciation today. But the karmic return is that Baba will continue to feed me. If I don't have the bhavna today, and I say, oh, this is just a ritual, I don't want to bother. I come home, I'm tired, I cook, I eat, and to add another 20 minutes on to preparing the dishes for bhog and then washing up. Oh, it's all too much for me. I don't want to bother. So what is my future? There's no guarantee. But if out of my real love and bhavna for Baba, this is what I'm doing because this is what Baba has taught me to do. This is what I see happen in Madhuban, in London, wherever Baba's homes are. So let me do the same in my own Lokik home. So there are steps that we can take today to make sure that even on a subtle level, we're following Baba's Srimat. And that Srimat, that guidance, is the ring that keeps me safe. Sita stepped out of that ring, but now I want to stay within that ring that's going to keep me safe.
Right, gentlemen. So yeah, you're talking about the sanskars and transformation of sanskars. Gentlemen, what does one do if, after trying so long to transform a sanskar, does one just put it to the side, or does one beat themselves up, or does one give up, or does one keep going? Like, no, this is because being in Gyan a long time, I'm also a victim of this. Like what when you're working on one sanskar for a long time and it's not transforming, so what do you do? What do you do, gentlemen?
What I do is to say, I'm going to keep trying to do my best. And what I've seen is that there was one particular sanskar that I was trying to deal with for a long, long time. And then there came a moment where it felt that I'd done as much as I could. And I just surrendered it to Baba. And I said, Baba, I've done my best. Now it's up to you. And somehow, I don't think there was a moment of turning that I recognized, but it really, now I look back and it feels as if Baba's power intervened at that moment when I surrendered with my heart, having done my best myself. But it wasn't shifting, then surrendering it to Baba, Baba took over, and today I see that there's a change. And as I say, there was a moment when I had to say, I can't deal with this myself. I'm going to hand it over to you. And gradually, it didn't happen overnight. But after a while, I noticed that, yes, I was free. And touch wood, let's see, because sometimes sanskars lurk deep inside and they can pop up later on when you don't expect them to. But I think that I keep checking that this particular sanskar, yes, Baba's given me the power to deal with it. Baba's helped.
But also, gentlemen, we know that not everything can be dealt with yoga, right? Sometimes we need to take professional help. Because no, there's this general answer, no, you're not having enough yoga, you should be doing more yoga. I mean, yoga definitely should be there, but if that's not working, do you suggest that we try to take help, professional help, therapy help?
Um, I think it's to be approached with caution, because I think that Baba has given us so much understanding that if I sincerely practice those things, they can help. But yes, if there's something which is a real bother and it isn't shifting, then yes, I think that it's important to take professional help. But I don't think that that's the first place to try. I think, again, like in your earlier question, it's the last place to try. And I think that maybe professional help can help me understand more easily what it is that's going on that I haven't been able to acknowledge to myself. But I think Baba's Murlis, especially the Avyak Murlis, are very, very clear and explicit. You know, Baba will say 1, 2, 3, and then in very royal language, even the terms that Baba uses for number 3 are very royal. And Baba will explain why a particular sanskar isn't shifting. What has it been that I've ignored or I've been careless about that has created this particular situation? And so if I'm looking for answers, Baba's Murlis will give me the answers. But yes, if there comes a point where I think I've tried and it's not working and I need professional help, then by all means, go ahead and try that too.
Yes,
But
and
I was just going to say that even with professional help, there's still work that you have to do. They can help you understand the scenario. Maybe you weren't able to quite put the scenario together. You could see bits, but not the whole scene. But now you've got the full scenario. They can't make you change. You and Baba have to do the work to make that shift. So I think that it's a glib answer to think, well, I'll take professional help. I don't think that that can actually shift a person. The professional will tell you what you have to do, maybe, but Baba's also already told me. That's my experience after seeing many people take professional help. They still have to do the work. They have to be ready to do that.
yeah, I agree, gentlemen. This is the conclusion I've come to, that even if you seek help from others, at the end, we still need to look in the mirror and change. So yes, I agree. But just in connection with that, there's another line from the Murli, another Murli, where Baba says transformation of sanskars takes place in the seed stage. Could you maybe, I think it's a good time to remind ourselves what exactly is the seed stage.
Um, Baba speaks about the fire of love, the fire of yoga. And so there's that stage in yoga in which I'm remembering Baba with love, I'm having a conversation with Baba. And all of this is important because it's forging that connection with God. And of course, there's a stage where as I walk and move, I'm practicing being soul conscious, keeping Baba with me. So all of that has its own relevance and significance. So none of it is a waste of time. All of it is important. But that stage when I'm actually sitting down in yoga, and now I've gone through that experience of just connecting with Baba, feeling Baba's love, talking to Baba. Now my mind is completely still, and it's in the experience of the fire of love, the power in which, through that deep love for Baba, Baba's able to absolve my sins of the past. And that is how sanskars change. Sanskars are connected with my karma. It's not just by chance that I have this particular sanskar. It's my karma that has created this sanskar. And so when I'm saying I want to finish the sanskar, I'm also saying I want to settle whatever is the karma that created that sanskar. And that will happen through deep, intense, powerful yoga, the seed stage yoga, in which it's not thinking about it, but it's actually being in that volcano of love, the fire of love that's able to settle my account of sins from the past.
So, gentlemen, seed stage is similar to volcanic stage?
Seed stage yoga is the foundation for volcanic yoga, because that stage of the seed, my own sanskars are changing, and then go even deeper. And the power of yoga and the power of love that's able to give light to the world, change the world, that is then the stage that we describe as volcanic yoga.
Okay. And it's good. This is flowing nicely in terms of the questions, because you just brought up karma now. And I know we all have the knowledge, but we were having this discussion last week during end of Murli. Gentlemen, what literally creates the karma? One is, of course, the action, but the karmic account. What literally creates the karmic account with the other person?
It's when, as a Brahmin, I'm talking about this now in Brahmin life, if as a Brahmin, I'm not seeing that other individual as a soul, I'm just seeing them as that human, then whatever I'm going to say and do and act in that context is karma. If, as a Brahmin, I'm seeing them as a soul, and I'm seeing them as Baba's child, and I'm keeping Baba with me, then whatever karma it is I'm engaged in is going to be pure karma, elevated karma, which means no bondage at all, but rather it's the accumulation of my credit account, the accumulation of pure karma for myself. Give you an example. I'm cooking, and I'm cooking in that awareness that I'm doing it for Baba. And yes, I know the family is going to take benefit also, but it's with that awareness that I'm doing it for Baba and the family. And so it's pure karma on my part. And what I'm doing is drawing blessings on myself, blessings that help me today, but also it's good karma that I'll carry forward with me. The other way, I'm supposed to be cooking. It's my turn. It's my duty. I'm on the rota today and I'm not feeling like it. I have so many other things to do. Can you think of all the stuff that goes on in heads when it's the same act, but that feeling I'm supposed to, or I have to, or I don't really like it, and I could be doing some other service. Why am I always asked to do this service? So all of those thoughts, and it's really not very healthy for me. And it's not going to be very healthy for people who eat that food. And Baba's going to have to, when I offer it to Baba, because again, I know that it's part of the system. So I offer it to Baba, and Baba's going to have to work very, very hard to neutralize that food and make it pure and holy and sacred. But I've missed out on blessings, and I'm carrying that burden. It's not been good karma, but it's been the burden of my own waste thoughts So nobody knows what's happened. Maybe they do, they see it on my face, or maybe I'm grumpy with other people who are helping me in the kitchen. So you can see that the karma is cooking, simple. But my thoughts, my awareness, my consciousness, my feelings can make it very elevated and sacred and pure karma that brings me blessings, or it becomes karma that through my waste thoughts I've created a burden for myself. And Baba's going to neutralize it and make it pure and holy so that those who come with that bhavna that I'm going to have Brahma Bhojan, they're going to have that feeling that it's all fine. Sometimes Daddy was asked the question, here's this person who's got an angry nature and they're in the kitchen. And so shouldn't you get rid of them? And Daddy would say, no, I'm not going to get rid of them. I value them and appreciate them because they've been doing this service for steadfast for a long time. And that's a service they know how to do. They won't be able to do anything else. So Daddy wouldn't agree to throwing them out of the kitchen. And Daddy would say to them, but your bhavna and the fact that, yes, whoever cooked, somebody else has offered to Baba, it's been offered to Baba, and your bhavna that you're eating from Baba's kitchen, from Baba's Pandara, that's going to give you strength. And so you keep your bhavna that this is Brahma Bhojan, it's cooked by Baba's children for Baba. And that's the benefit you're going to have. So there's different ways of looking at the same situation.
Yeah, can we just underline that? So you're saying that if somebody, if let's say it's an angry cook, so there's an angry cook, but the one who's eating knows it's an angry cook, but I'm eating from Baba's Pandara. And so I trust that the food will be, filled with the right vibes. Baba will transform that, right?
Yes, Daddy, it was a situation that was going on for years, and Daddy would eat the general food. Daddy wouldn't have anything special. Daddy would eat the general food, and we didn't see any negative impact on Daddy. She was with her love for Baba and that awareness that it's Baba's Pandara, she was able to purify and take it further.
Would you say the same for somebody having lustful thoughts? Because anger, lust, ego, they're all a bit of a different gradient, aren't they?
Yeah. So, what's the question?
Well, if one is an angry cook, the other is a lustful cook.
Yeah.
Like they have lustful thoughts. So they're still cooking, but so the same concept applies, right?
There was actually a situation with that, and Daddy again said, um, I'm not going to throw this person out. They will leave at the right moment, and they did. And meanwhile, it would have created a lot of upheaval in many different ways if Baba Daddy had told them to leave. And so Daddy said, it's okay. You have your love for Baba, and with your bhavna, you purify that food and it'll be fine. It's a real situation I'm talking about.
Right. Gentlemen, a few more questions and then I'll take them from the chat. I know people are writing in chat, so for you, I will take your questions. I still have ones from before. So basically, somebody's question was, well, it's a two-part question. Maybe you can answer it together. One is, what is the future of centers and service? And I'm connecting this other question, which is, what is needed to reveal Baba in the end?
Okay. Because of COVID, of course, center activities have been either zero or quite restricted. London, we're lucky we have a huge amount of space, and so we still continue with morning class. Every day, morning class carries on, Bhog carries on. Sunday, we have the regular daily class students take a holiday and watch on webcast, and the people from far distances, the suburbs who come, the house is then given over to them. So there's this sort of balancing act of numbers that goes on. But I just see how much people appreciate Baba's homes, whether it's a small center where maybe just 5 people can come. And so I know of some centers where people have been taking it in turns so that 5 come one day, 5 another day, and so on and so on. And so there's a register kept, but people are given an opportunity to come maybe every few days, once a week, or whatever it is. But the vibrations of Baba's home are so appreciated by people who come. It's very moving to watch that and to hear them express it. And yes, we had somebody come here who hadn't been here for 7 months. She came yesterday and she had tears in her eyes. She really felt, she said that maybe it was at Raki that I really missed being here. And yes, the webcast was great. I took so much benefit from that. But just being here now in Baba's home, it's made such a difference. And so centers are not going to close down. Centers are going to continue because everybody needs to have pure spaces which are dedicated to Baba, which everybody can say is Baba's house, not my house, but it's Baba's house. So centers are going to carry on till the end of the Kalpa. This is why Baba has given us these spaces. So that's going to continue. As time goes on, one of the things, if you recall, when Daddy was in Moringen, she was there twice, I think. And so the first time was about 4 years ago. And then the next time she was again in Moringen. And then after that, we moved to Barcelona. So about 3, 4 years ago. Daddy was asked the question, how do you create fortune? And I've heard her answer this how many times, you know? I've heard Baba speak about fortune many times. But this time, Daddy took up a particular theme. And she said, you create fortune through your dharana. The purpose of Gyan and Yoga is your transformation, your practical application of the Gyan and Yoga. And it's seeing you and your dharana that others are inspired and are going to be able to come closer to Baba. And through that whole period of 4 or 5 days, she kept us very focused that it's the dharana that's going to do service. And so at this moment, many people give brilliant lectures. Many people teach all sorts of yogas, and until you experiment and understand, you don't know what's the difference between those yogas and Raj Yoga, the way God teaches it. And so what is the visible difference? The visible difference is our behavior, our dharana. And individuals, and then not just one individual, one person meets one person and says, oh, they're amazing, they're so peaceful. But they meet another individual and another, and they see that it's not just one, it's a whole troop. And they keep seeing this wherever they go. And they say there's something special here that I've not seen anywhere else before. So dharana is really the way to be able to do service. And it's our dharana that's going to open people's intellects. When people can see that there's chaos all around and you can stay peaceful, when there's negativity coming your way and you're able to rise above it and stay not just positive, but you're able to have the highest vision and your own highest potential is emerging. There's a difference between everything else that's going on and what Baba has taught us. So sometimes Baba uses the expression, you have to first reveal yourselves, then you'll be able to reveal God. And so I see that this is that moment now when people are scared and we are not scared. When people are just wondering what the future holds, and we say, it's okay, there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel, there's a better world coming, and together we can create that better world. And I truly believe it, but I live my life on the basis of that. Then people see that and they'll say, there's something here. And so I think that we need to be the embodiment of what God wants us to be and all the things that God has been teaching us to be. And then we'll be able to reveal Baba. And that means not just two sisters living in a center, but it means the 30 people who are taking benefit from the center. So whether they're now coming every day or whether they're hearing on Zoom or whatever it may be, but whoever has been taking sustenance from Baba, direct, indirect, however it is, personal, remote, that sustenance now has to shine through our faces and our lives so that people can see that there is something here that we've never seen anywhere before.
Yes, true, gentlemen. I'll take a few questions from the chat now. So somebody wants me to emphasize spiritual maturity is very important. That's just a comment. And then a question is, so regarding the Borg, offering of Borg, you were saying like it takes, some might think it takes long. So is it okay then if we don't have time or if we have a disability, is it okay to then offer food that's on our plate, on the table?
If I have a disability, of course, what can I say to that? But the whole action, the karma of preparing a tray for Baba, it's filled with such love and gives such a sweet experience of the connection with Baba. It's very different to, I'm going to take a bit of this, I'm going to take a bit of this, and this is what I like, I'm going to take a little bit more. The whole mentality. I'm putting it for myself. And yes, I love Baba, so I'm offering it to Baba. And so Baba's going to fill it with good vibrations. But the quality of yoga that I have when I'm actually preparing the bhog tray for Baba and then offering it to Baba is a whole different experience. It really is.
Yes, and the other day I went looking for a new tray and I just, had so much joy. Pavitra and I, we just had so much joy, looking for a new tray for Baba. So imagine offering
Uh,
food on.
I remember I used to take fruits for Baba's bhog tray to Madhuban. My Buddhi yoga used to be with Baba and those fruits, first getting them, then packing them, then carrying them, making sure that they arrived intact, then running to Daddy's cottage to take them so that then sometimes I'd arrive the same day as Baba's, someday Baba's meeting, and some days it will be a day earlier. But my first thought was always, this is for Baba. I want to take it to Daddy's cottage so that then I make sure I give it to the person and they keep it safe for Baba's tray. So there's a very different joy. It's a very real relationship with God. So much of our yoga is like up here, but when you're preparing food for Baba, you're getting things for Baba. It's live. It's real.
Yeah, and I think also, gentlemen, we keep saying that, like you were saying earlier, we will not be without food. But I think we have to underline not be without food throughout the whole cycle. It's not now not be without food. If we offer to Baba, it's like the whole cycle we will be taken care of. And that's not, we're not doing it for that, but we just know inside that we don't need
Absolutely.
to worry. Yeah. Okay, maybe you can answer this quickly because there are quite a few questions. How to reach that elevated level to what? Assess other souls' expectations. What does that mean? How to reach that elevated? As for maybe today's Murli, yeah, Baba said, whoever comes in front of you, then give them, what they need. Yeah, whatever is their bhavna, you have to fulfill their bhavna. So how to assess that? That's the question. How do we know what the other soul needs so we can fulfill that? Any way to tune into that? Yeah.
Yeah. What I used to observe in Dadi was, and you also, you had a lot of exposure to Dadi. When Dadi would meet somebody, Dadi would want to have a few moments of silence with them. And even if they were total strangers and they didn't know anything about yoga, we would say to them, Daddy would like to meet with you in silence just for a few moments. And they would very gracefully accept that. Nobody ever said why. So they would sit in silence, and Daddy would just be remembering Baba. And she wouldn't be thinking, now, what is it that the soul needs? No, she would be just with Baba. And she would trust that Baba would touch her, and whatever was coming from her lips, it was what they needed. And this happened to us so often. Afterwards, they would leave the room and they would be with us in the corridor or in the other room, and they would say, how did Daddy know? I needed to hear Daddy say that. Daddy understood exactly what I'm going through. Now, human situations are so complex, so there's no way that I knew or any of the other sisters knew and we explained it to Daddy and prepared Daddy on that level. No. She trusted that in that silence and her connection with Baba, Baba would touch her and she would know what to say. There's 1,000 things you can pick, from today's Murli or yesterday's Murli or anything. But how did she know? It was just keeping that line clear with Baba and having that total aim of being an instrument. And we saw that in Daddy. Always, always, I'm Baba's instrument. I'm an instrument. Yes, I have to make sure I'm clean and clear myself. For the rest, I have to trust that Baba's going to tell me what it is that is needed and not talk to me in my head. But I know that I'm connected with Baba, and so what is being shared is what Baba wants me to share. So that is really a very practical thing I saw happen again and again. And then at times, yes, I know what a person is coming with, what their issue is. Like yesterday, I had to meet somebody and I knew exactly what their issue was, or at least not exactly. I had an idea. And then I had a conversation with somebody who knew them better than I knew. And they explained a few more things about that individual. But at that point, when I sat with that individual, I think it made a difference. But it was really a couple of touchings that came. I wouldn't have thought about it myself, but why am I meeting this person? I want to help them. Yes, definitely. But it was that touching then that let me offer them this, let me offer them this. So that there was very practical things that I suggested them and some homework that I gave them. And um, let's see how far it works. It's work in progress, so I'm waiting to see the outcome. But the intention was that simple intention that Baba needs to help this individual. Baba's going to help them.
To trust that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. So this person is saying that we know how difficult it is to change our sanskars. It takes time. But how can we change the sanskars of those we're living with? Because it's affecting my spiritual development.
Well, I know that last week Baba said create such an atmosphere that the sanskars of others change. But that's not with any motive that because this is going to help my spiritual progress. I have to make sure that I take help from Baba so that whatever their stage is doesn't impact me. I'm under God's canopy of protection. I have to do that for myself. And then further, yes, let me create an atmosphere in which they themselves want to change. I think having good wishes for them, not thinking about their negativity, but just really creating an atmosphere of Baba's love so that then it emerges in their hearts and their minds that, yes, I want to change and this is the way I need to change.
And gentlemen, how can one keep a chart? How to write the points, how to grow fast?
The chart that I've used that has helped me the most, I'll share that because you get all sorts of menus that come from different places. Different people keep charts, and whatever they're doing is surely helping them. But I find it very difficult having a list of 14 points or 20 points or whatever. Two different things that I've done. One is keep a chart of my stage of soul consciousness, just simply that. And I used to keep, and I did this for about 2 years, and it was very helpful. And after every hour, I would just note down how many minutes I was soul conscious. And it's only for me, it's not for anybody else's eyes. And so I can tell whether in the past hour, my mind has been so engaged that, yes, it was service, it was ideas, but it wasn't soul conscious. Or sometimes I know that, yes, I was very attentive and I was focused on the inner stage, on the inner being, rather than just the activity I was engaged in. So that has helped me enormously. And as I say, at one point it was continuous, and then I picked it up from time to time whenever there's been that recognition that I really need to focus on this once more, because soul consciousness isn't something that just goes, it goes up and then you slip and then you learn and you go up again. So the chart of soul consciousness is very valuable because it's the foundation. And the second thing that I do, and that's ongoing all the time, at night, just a review of the day so that then I can see where it is that things could have been different and what was my response, what was my reaction. And once I know what could have been different, then tomorrow I'm going to make sure that it is different. So these are two very simple things that I do personally.
Very nice, gentlemen. Okay, this question. Baba told us that whatever happened at the beginning will happen at the end. Does it mean that the yajna and all of us will go through a beggary period soon?
I think it's not just the yajna and you and me. I think the world is going to go through challenges. And yes, when I was talking about earlier food, I have the faith that Baba's going to look after me, but I also know that I'm going to be challenged. And yes, Baba's told us to keep a stock, but how do you know how long you'd have to keep a stock for? And say, for example, if there's a cordon around Global House and even from Sukhtam or just 2 minutes walk away, nobody's able to come to us. That's happened a few times already, but usually it's been for a few hours for the police searching for somebody and a few times when there's water pipes that have burst and things like this. So it's happened. And it's not difficult to imagine it can happen again. And so maybe there's 400 people in the house and there's lockdown, there's a police cordon around. So whatever food we have, we're going to be sharing, whether it's people inside or whether it's people from outside. And so you never know what sort of challenge is going to come to you. And so am I detached enough from everything to be able to face that sort of story? So yes, the yajna went through a beggary part, but it was at a time also when the partition war, the world war had just finished, and there was a lot of poverty around everywhere. So the yajna was part of that scene, but especially then the yajna. And so for us also, I think everywhere there's going to be food shortages. I think so, really. And no matter whatever stock we have, it's going to be used. And how long is that emergency going to last? We have no idea. And so, yes, I think we're going to go through a period in which there's going to be challenge with food, there's going to be challenge with finance. I'm sure all of this is going to come. You know, when people don't have jobs, what can they do? They have to feed their families. They're not managing that. There's going to be challenges that come up for everyone, whether in a center or whether in a home.
Okay, gentlemen. I think there's quite a few questions on this offering of Bhog. So let's finish that subject. And there are others, but we can't take all the questions now. So one of the questions is, I don't sleep without offering Bhog, but sometimes I offer Bhog very late at night. Is that okay?
Baba understands if that's my situation and I'm working late or doing whatever I need to do till late, and that's the last thing that I can do at night. Baba understands. So yes, still let me offer.
And
And
there's no
Baba,
clock up there, right?
I,
Baba doesn't have a clock.
I was going to say that there's no sun and moon and stars up there in the subtle region. Baba told us that yesterday. So for Baba, it's 24 hours on call.
And connected with that is another question that somebody's staying in a kind of Lokik setup. And they're offering with their heart and mind, but not able to literally take the Bhog tray to Baba. So can they be forgiven?
Yes, absolutely. Baba's seeing your love. That's the most important thing, your love and your bhavna. And if circumstances prevail, so be it. But let my love and bhavna continue.
Okay, now, gentlemen, I will stop the chat, but we have something called a rapid fire round. Okay. Be ready. And we just want very quick, simple word answers, and whatever comes to you. And I won't make it difficult. I'll be merciful. Okay, so what is the one thing you miss most about Dadi?
Daddy's ability to make us laugh.
Okay, what is the one virtue that you stand by?
For myself or for others?
No, you. Yeah, that you really
myself,
believe in, like one virtue.
Faith.
Okay, if you were not a BK, what would you have been?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay, good. Name one thing that makes you happy.
Beautiful flowers.
Actually, this was the other question. What is your favorite color? And don't say white.
I don't think I've ever thought about favorite colors. I really haven't. Orange is great. The flowers you have seem to be pink. They're great.
Okay, any favorite food?
No, people keep asking me this question wherever I go, but I can't think of anything which I'll say this is my one and only favorite.
Okay, if there was one thing in the drama you could change, what would that be?
The way in which I've had to learn about breaking attachments.
Okay, good. And what is your favorite, let's say, ritual or dharna ritual? Yeah.
I love that whole aspect of offering bhog.
Hmm. Okay, and last question. If you had half a day free, what would you do with it?
Sleep.
I knew you were going to say that. I could predict that. So, gentlemen, it's been a joy. We had other questions, but time is up. We'd like you now to give us powerful drishti. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And thank you, gentlemen, for answering the questions very sincerely from your heart, from your experience. And that really is, I think, what matters now at the end of the yajna, is that honesty, sincerity of our seniors, because that helps us to be genuine, authentic. And I think that's it. We're all naked, aren't we? We don't have anything to hide anymore.
Well,
So,
we've known each other too long, Arun. When you see somebody just for a short while, then you can create an illusion. But if you know somebody for 40 years, 30 years, you know everything about them.
yeah. So once again, thank you so much. Let's have a nice meditation, and
thank you for your questions, and whoever else asked, thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे, भाग्य के द्वारे खुले हमको हमारे मिले, भाग्य के द्वारे खुले हमको हमारे मिले, आए जीवन में ये बहार तुमसे ओ बाबा, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे। माता पिता सद्गुरु सखा तुम ही तो एक हमारे हो, शिक्षक तुम ही रक्षक तुम ही दिल के तुम ही सहारे हो, मिला सारे रिश्तों का प्यार तुमसे ओ बाबा, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे। दुनिया से दूर तारों के गान तुम
Thank you, Jen.
ले ले आए हो,
We've unmuted you if you'd like to say Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti, and goodbye.
unmuted عشان نقول شنطة.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om
Om Shanti,
Shanti.
thank you.
Om Shanti Didi.
Shanti Jayanti ma'am, thank you
Om
very
Shanti.
much.
Om Shanti,
Om
Didi.
Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om
Thank you.
Om Shanti Jayanti.
Om Shanti.
Om
Om
Shanti.
Shanti, Sister
Thank
Jayanti.
you.
Om Shanti, Jayanti Ben and
Om
Havina
Om
Ben.
Shanti Didi.
Om
Om
Shanti.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank
Shanti.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti Jayanti Didi. You are our doctor.
Om Shanti, Jayanti Didi.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti to all divine childs of
We'll let
Subhama.
Sister Jayanti go so she can
Lovely
answer some
doctor
more
of the
emails.
soul.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayanti Ben.
Om Shanti. Pavitra Ben.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sweet souls. Hope you can hear that.
Om Shanti.